Hey guys, welcome back to Clockwork and Noodles. We have another breakdown on our hands and my god, that ending was amazing. I loved it. I can't wait to discuss it with you guys. Make sure you guys are subscribed. That will allow you to have notifications whenever the videos are up on my channel. That also helps you keep in the loop and supports the channel as well. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. This is episode number 4 of the case study of Vanitas. We're here again, episode 4. Can't wait to break it down. This is an anime that I'm really enjoying this season. I think I was pleasantly surprised when it first came onto the scene. We saw part 1, and I think I even said I didn't expect to be as enthralled by the story as I was, and this second part is really doing the same job to keep up the same level of mystery. If anything, there's more mystery going on because I wasn't expecting what happened at the end. Go and check out the Discord channel. That will give you a notification straight to your phone whenever there is a video drop on YouTube. Let's get going. Truth around the snowstorm loop that is going on, in fact, is a time loop, which I think is ironic because of what the actual machine in the centre also technically is. I am so happy because Big Brain Becca kind of figured out that the things we were seeing were a hallucination or being replayed over and over again. Happy that I came close to figuring that one out. The castle at the centre has simply just been protected, preventing people to get to it. I got a very strong Beauty and the Beast vibe with this episode. Part 2 so far has been very light on our main characters, and I think that's also nicely fitting with the OP, because in the OP, we have both our characters separated, sitting alone, trying to find one another. It's not really a arc really focused in on the main characters. It's mainly about our 2 new characters, Chloe and John. I think it's quite nice that they've also reflected this in the OP. It is another week of flashbacks. This time we are going to focus on the meeting of Chloe and John. I did say I really liked him as a character, and I even more so like him as a character this week. Tragic backstory behind him. Well, he was born the vampire, or he was a vampire, and then he was rejected by his family. His father, they rejected him and beat him. When he finally met Chloe, they were very similar. They were both lonely. They were both cast out by the people who were supposed to protect them. And this is when we started to get hints that Chloe and the Beast were not the same. At no point have we had any evidence that Chloe has killed anyone. This is what was slowly playing on my mind, because the anime was very heavily trying to tilt us towards portraying her as the bad person, the witch, the bad person. That name was obviously given without a great deal of explanation. And this is something I was also starting to wonder, is whether she actually had done anything. The one thing I was actually talking about recently in my Rose King breakdowns, if you're watching the Rose King, this is going to be the similar thing there. It's the idea of superstition. And I presume this anime takes place not in the modern. I know there's a lot of steampunk elements, which makes it very hard to date. Even if it is steampunk elements and it's the 18th century at the latest, it's still an era people believe in superstition, especially in somewhere like Gavorden, where they are out in the middle of nowhere. Obviously, life is difficult. There's a lot of death, probably, and people want to blame somebody. Chloe is sadly being singled out as the one person who's probably got no family. The weird woman who lives in the woods is barely ever seen, but people start going, that person must be a witch, therefore the name has probably come from that. Started to lead me down the rabbit hole. I initially wondered if Chloe had become the monster that she was believed to be. Everyone was telling us she was a monster, therefore she became the monster. It's not actually her who becomes the monster. The Beast is so sad because he becomes the Beast to actually protect her. He believes that if there is a beast and they finally kill a beast, they're going to be satisfied, and that bloodlust to hunt someone down is going to be satiated. The flashback ended and was teasing the idea that Jean was transforming. He obviously was. I started to see the clever angle at how this anime is really trying to steer you on a certain route. That's not the route of truth. I wasn't sold. Basically, at this point, I also wasn't 100% sold that John was the guy who killed the other girl and was the reason for Chloe being accused. Because we see him literally selling his own name to protect Chloe. That's why I was like, he can't be a bad person. He's actually doing everything he can. He's being quite selfless for somebody who took him in, somebody who has been a friend. Jean as a character, I like him as a character. He's very misunderstood. That's the Beauty and the Beast vibes I'm really getting. He's obviously the Beast. People are just jumping on shadows. People are obviously trying to find a scapegoat, trying to find an explanation, because something people don't like is the idea of not knowing, and not knowing scares people. So sometimes, with the fear of not knowing, sometimes people will invent a reason to make themselves feel better. The younger grown-up Jean, I absolutely love this look. The hair it looks almost grey in the picture, but it might just be the filter they're using at this point. But it's longer. She's wearing a darker dress. It looks so good. I like her in the pinks, but I also really like this darker look for her. I think it looks a lot more mature as well. We see the moment where she really couldn't kill Chloe because of the relationship the two had between them. If anything, she was trying to plead with her. Chloe ends up sparing John in her last moment by jumping off the cliff in her pain because she didn't want to burden her with the knowledge of having to kill her. I think the last action she took was very selfless, which is where I started to go, I'm not getting the vibe that Chloe's actually bad at all, because obviously she's not. And the reverse Uno at the end is a lot of this is banking on people picking up these subtleties that she didn't actually do anything. At this moment with her jumping off the cliff to kill herself, that is a powerful move, and that also protects Jean, and I love this. It's only at this moment that we see her bargaining with the charlatan. I never thought she'd actually given her name to the charlatan, so I wasn't 100% that she'd actually given it to her, but it is stated that she chose to become the curse bearer. But it's right at this moment when she finally feels bitter, she feels hatred, she feels angry at the end. I also think Chloe has been playing Final Fantasy X too, because the way that the machine fires up is just Vegnagun. This is the Vegnagun weapon of Vanitas universe. It's clever, but my goodness, it just reminds me of Final Fantasy X too. And that game is trauma to me. That game is utter trauma because I had 99% and I could never get that final 100 because I just couldn't do that final double boss in the lower regions of the Via Purifico. Nah, it is pure trauma for me. The matter at the hand is there is absolutely no beast. John became the beast to protect Chloe. If there was a beast, he'd never have to become a beast because there'd be something real. He became a beast to end the bloody hunt. I also feel really sorry for Noe this week because everybody keeps biting him or forcing him to bite them. And he also has to go through witnessing these horrible stories because Noe has to witness John being shot by his own father, Chloe being falsely accused. All of this is still being experienced by Noe. Noe is such a lovely being that he's being forced to see all this, and as he's running through the castle after he's woken up, he's still got tears streaming down his face. I really feel sorry for at this moment in time is Noe. He just seems to be being pushed along by the plot this part. Finally end up having that reunite. Every time they've reunited, Noe has been on death's door. It's the way Vanitas ends up indirectly telling him that I missed you. What about me? I was really worried about you. But he didn't want to say it. It's just that moment, that awkward silence between them. I love these two because they're such comedy gold when you end up watching these guys. I love them. They're great. Vanitas also backs up my jumping at shadows superstition idea. Was never really a beast. That's when we get our nice church link. But it makes sense. People are afraid. People probably don't have a great deal of money. There's a lot of religion out there telling you that there's demons and you're being punished for things. And when people suddenly die in the forest, you're like, oh my goodness, there's a monster. We're being punished. It has to be a demon or a beast. The lack of science, the lack of media makes it very easy to scapegoat and blame the poor woman living in the woods who has no family. But unsurprisingly, the church is to blame. Hiding their vampire hunt, coming up with these lies, these superstitious stories that there's a beast and it's not actually us killing vampires. Which leads us to my panic. My heart starting to hammer at this point. Noe versus Astolfo again. I am so panicky. Astolfo literally wiped the floor with Noe without him even having to move. And Noe's now not in a great shape because he's been smacking his head into doors, traumatized. He's going to go up against the guy again. And that makes me so nervous. That guy is not messing around. A little bit of light-hearted comedy before we go into the panicking moments again. Chloe leaving a very powerful book just on the floor in the middle of a pile of mess because she is a magpie, because she just wanted the gem at the front of the book, nothing more. To be fair, it is a big blue gem. I love the colour blue. Me personally, I would also want this book. This book is gorgeous. If I get a chance, I might make the book as a prop and have it actually slide out. Try and work on the mechanics of that. That's going to be fun for me. I enjoy looking at animes like this and go, what would I like to own? And I want that book. But nothing sinister here. The book wasn't stolen because she was going to use it. I also felt if someone got hold of the book and I didn't have the power Vanitas does, don't think they'd be able to actually use the book. They probably might even look at it and be a load of gobbledygook for them. Initially, we had Charlatan versus Vanitas, me starting to sweat a bit because Vanitas is still unarmed, has no book. It did seem initially that Chloe was being influenced by the Charlatan because she doesn't even listen to Vanitas. She just goes, oh, the Charlatan says he hates you, therefore she can deal with you. But let's talk about the big machine at the centre of everything, the Vegnagun machine Mark II. We've got the alteration machine. It seemingly is a time machine. Theoretically, it looks like it acts like a time machine where you can alter something. Initially, the Charlatan says she's trying to get rid of Gavorden. The whole area of Gavorden is going to be gone. It seems like the machine then rewrites history, shifts you onto a new timeline. You're now on a timeline where Gavorden doesn't exist anymore. Obviously, this doesn't actually happen. It does seem like it's a time machine plus it has the ability to do other things as well. I did wonder if it would ever cause paradoxes. Let's say she had gone through with wiping out Gavorden. You suddenly wipe out yourself and you would never meet John. That's where your parents were. That's where your parents and your family called home. What happens if it was because of the beautiful nature of this area where they got together and you then wipe out yourself? Lots of paradoxes that could have been caused, but that's actually not what we go for anyway. The reason why this ends up being such a good ending is because the Charlatan believes I'm angry, probably blames Gavorden for all of her life. And you can imagine she's spoken to Charlatan at some point and gone, this is what I'm going to do. Because the Charlatan's probably gone, hey, what are you going to wish for? What are you going to rewrite? And she said that. This is clever because I think she gave an answer that was believable to the Charlatan without the Charlatan even realising it's time for reverse Uno. Praise Chloe to high heavens, but obviously I don't know what her plans are yet. Massive kudos, giving the Charlatan a form, making the Charlatan solid. This made me suddenly go, wait, Chloe is good? We've never really had any information that tells us otherwise. We saw Chloe crying, saying goodbye to one of her friends, or she was really heartbroken when she lost Rufian as a friend. There was no real evidence that Chloe was actually bad. We'd just been told that she was the beast at the start, and we too were having this superstition fed to us. Now that the Charlatan is solid, the Charlatan has a form. The Charlatan can be killed. The Charlatan can be slain, as Chloe says. Chloe says that she's going to go and slay the Charlatan. The Charlatan has suddenly become less of a threat. One thing I found really terrifying about the villain in particular was because the villain in particular didn't exist. Well, they existed, but they had no form. They could get inside people's brains. Having a unseen villain that you can't touch, you can't fight, is truly terrifying. And I think that's what makes this Charlatan absolutely scary. But now, Chloe has just reversed Uno'd everything. The Charlatan has a body, and the plot is now getting more and more twisted. What does it mean? What do I think about the end scene? I personally think Chloe is actually good. She's had a long time to think about what is the cause of all of this. She lost her best friend Rufian. She may have put it down to the Charlatan being in the blood and seen the Charlatan as the cause of Rufian going crazy, because we saw young Rufian. Young Rufian was no different from Tanjiro. Happiness. He's huge, absolute giant, and his hands were huge, especially in those pictures where we saw a young Jun next to him. Oh my goodness, that man is huge. She has lost her best friend because of the Charlatan. She's now also seen Jean lose his name and become a beast because of the Charlatan. Is it a possibility Chloe has outsmarted everybody in this entire anime and worked out that the Charlatan is the fault, and if the Charlatan was gone, the world would be a better place? I am stunned. I am really impressed at the twist. I wasn't expecting the twist. I thought they were just going to roll with it. This is the people who created Pandora Hearts. Nothing is ever simple. It's always going to have a tragic taste to it, but it's also going to be sweet, a bit bittersweet. So where was the sweet? We were getting a lot of the bitter, but there was no sweet. So I'm very excited for next week to see what happens. What are her motives? Is she going to try and kill the Charlatan? Am I correct on the reasoning why she wants to hurt the Charlatan? She didn't get rid of Gavorden. Gavorden still stands. Maybe she's smart enough to also realise that if you get rid of an entire region, you yourself may cease to be. She loved her best friend and she loved Jean. She obviously wouldn't get rid of an area that allowed her to also experience happiness. She was angry at the end because of something, and maybe it really was the fact that the Charlatan had pushed John into making that pact to become a beast to protect her. Maybe she's angry about the Charlatan getting involved. Very exciting to see where we go. I can't wait for the next week. It's going to be great. Just really hoping Noe doesn't get sliced into Noe sushi. That would be really sad. I don't want him in bits. I want a whole being. Very excited for next week, guys. I can't wait. Thank you again for tuning in. It's been a great episode. Have a good day, guys. Make sure you're having a good weekend planned. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.